But we're going to start a new series this morning called Conflict or Peace. Conflict or peace. Most of us want to live a life that is a peaceable life, that is full of peace. We want to live in peace. But yet we live in a world that seems to be very full of drama and conflict wherever we go. And so we're going to take the next few weeks, and I want to help you find the peace that the Bible talks about. But I want you to understand that conflict is not new. Conflict is something that has been going on since at least the second generation of humanity. So let's look at Genesis chapter 4, and in verse number 2, and I'll pick up in the middle of the verse. And it's a story about the first two kids, Cain and Abel. And it says, when they grew up, Abel became a shepherd, while Cain cultivated the ground. So one was a rancher, one was a farmer. Now in the verses in between verse 2 and verse 8, the Lord gave them instructions of how to bring an offering. They brought their offerings. One followed instructions and received the offering, or the Lord received that offering and blessed him, and the other one, the Lord rejected the offering. So that's a little footnote there, that if you're going to give offerings to the Lord, you follow the instructions on how the Lord wants offerings brought to him. But that caused a conflict. So in verse 8 we see, one day Cain suggested to his brother, let's go out into the fields. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Now, like Cain and Abel, I grew up in a very rural area. Our nearest neighbor was approximately a mile away. I didn't have a lot of interaction with people. I was out in a field all the time. There just wasn't a lot of conflict. Unless you didn't do what Dad told you to do, then there was a pretty good conflict then. But most of the time there was no conflict. Occasionally you had a farm animal that get a little bit stubborn, and you had a little bit of conflict there. But by and large, there was no conflict. It was very peaceful. My mother had health issues. We had to deal with that. But by and large, it was a very peaceful upbringing. Our interaction with people was at the local farm store where you had to get a lot of different things, and that was 4 miles down a dirt road. And when we got there, our treat would be sometimes a soft drink, because we weren't allowed to have soft drinks at the house, so a soft drink was always great. Then we had the grain elevator and cotton gin that we would see during the harvest season, but they were about the same distance away in a different direction. And then I went to a small school, so I was a little bit limited on conflict. Perhaps my biggest conflict as a child was somebody took my seat on the big yellow submarine bus. And I didn't like it when somebody took my seat. Kind of like you when you come to church. You didn't like it when somebody took your seat. And so we mess up the seats every once in a while to prevent that. But anyway, I grew up, and everything was really, really good. And so I made some dumb decisions when I got out of high school, right out of high school, and I just got mad at God and the world, and I decided I was going to take off and go to Dallas-Fort Worth and get rich like a lot of other kids from small towns do. So I took off to Dallas-Fort Worth, and I'm going to get rich. And what I realized about Dallas-Fort Worth is there's a lot of people here. A lot of people. All kinds of people. All shapes, sizes, and colors, nationality, races, languages, religious beliefs, all kinds of different people. Now, I grew up in that farm environment, and my dad told me, you know, black is black, white is white, this is this is that. You just call it like you see it. So I called it like I saw it. I thought most of them were lazy, stubborn, uneducated idiots that were a bunch of thieves. And so I called it like I saw it, and they didn't like that. I know none of you can envision me being that opinionated. What are you laughing about? So I thought to myself, the problem is really people. If we don't have any people, we won't have any problems. That's not realistic, especially if you have a family and got kids. and you got to work for a living. Most of it requires an interaction with other people. But I was having a hard time because I didn't like all these people that didn't see things like I saw it. It didn't have the same values like I saw it, because I was taught that you go to work when you get up and you work until you get the job done. And you don't show up late, you don't whine, you don't complain, and you get paid a fair wage, and don't be greedy, and don't be going on strike, and don't be doing it. And I just thought they were a bunch of idiots. And I was winning unpopularity very quickly. I was a little bit like the illustration that Boone used a while ago about the thermostat and the thermometer. I was truly a thermometer. I was allowing all the circumstances that were going on around me to determine whether I was having a good day or not. But I had to learn that if I used biblical principles, I could control the thermostat instead of being controlled like a thermometer. Now, fast forward about 4,000 years to the book of Ephesians. And we see a situation where Paul is gone to a city. He has gone there. He's helped plant a church. They're ministering. And Ephesus is the name of the city. Is about 300,000 people at that time. And it was a port city. And at that time it had a port. It's now filled in with silt since then. But at that time it had a port. And so it was an international commerce city. You had the farmers bringing their goods in to be sold. You had the ranchers bringing their goods in to be sold. It was on a trade route from east to west, and so you had people coming through there. And so you had all these different people with different backgrounds. You had all these different people that were from different countries. And Ephesus kind of became one of those cities where it was the clash of all the religions and wisdom to battle out whose God is the biggest, whose God is the best, whose idol is this. And then here comes along Paul. He doesn't have an idol, but he is serving the creator of the universe, and he starts talking to them about the unseen God. And he has great debates with them in the arenas that are there. And so he goes back, and years later, he writes a book to the church in Ephesus. And we called it the book of Ephesians. Now, think about that metropolitan area, all of that mixing of all the different people, different backgrounds. There's lots of conflict between the ideas. There's probably a lot of business people trying to monopolize their corner of the business. There's probably a lot of unethical stuff that are going on. And so Paul writes this letter to the church people in Ephesus. So we're going to begin in Ephesians chapter 4, verse number 2. Always be humble. I hadn't read that verse when I first took off and went to the city. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with one another. Now, I was a very patient person as long as you did it in my timing. All right, y'all are afraid to look around because you're just like me. Be patient with one another, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Verse number 3. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. Now think about this. Remember the context that this is being written to. It's written to the young church there, and how they're having to deal with one another. And I'm assuming that this church is a makeup of people from the community, which means all these differences have now filtered into the church, and he makes a command to them, make every effort. I had to learn that because I thought everyone else needed to make an effort to line up with what I thought they should be. And the Bible tells me that I'm the one that's supposed to make an effort. Now jump down to verse 31. And this is where it really goes into meddling now. Jumps down to verse 31, and he says to them, get rid of all bitterness. Get rid of rage. I'm not upset about anything. Get rid of anger. Get rid of harsh words. I've never said anything bad. It's just my tone of voice that gets me in trouble. And slander. Well, I heard it from two people. It had to be true. As well as all types of evil behavior. Now remember what Jesus said in John 13:35. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Evidently, that church was struggling to show love one for another. And so the responsibility began to be upon the church and upon Christians to make a change in the way that we think. Verse 32. Instead, so verse 31 starts with get rid of. Verse 32 says instead. Be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ has forgiven you. Amen. So the responsibility is put on the believers to conform to God's Word instead of being controlled by the world that is around them. You know, it's been a couple of thousand years since that's been written, roughly. Not a lot has changed, has it? A lot of people today call themselves Christians, but they're allowing the temperature of their life to be totally controlled by everyone that's around them. I remember we had a young youth pastor that worked for us for a time, William. William was a great guy. William come in to me one day, and I could tell he was struggling a little bit. He said, man, I love the kids. I love pastoring. I love this being a youth pastor is just a dream job. But dealing with all these people is a problem. And ironically, I understood what he said. You have to learn that if you want to be accepted, that you have to accept. You have to learn to show forth the love of Christ. You have to learn to live this out. That's the reason Romans chapter 12 talks about that great transformation of our minds and the renewing and the changing of the way that we think. My question is to you, is your thinking pattern any different than people who are not serving the Lord? And if it's not, then there's a little bit of work to do. And here's what I want to share with you. The more that you submit yourself to negative thinking patterns, the more that you'll be influenced. The harder it becomes to be the thermostat to control things instead of being a thermometer and being controlled. And Paul tells them in the church of Ephesus, you need to control things instead of being controlled. And here are the things that you can control. It's your thought life, your attitudes, and your emotions. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of where I'm going to be in about 2 weeks, and you're going, well, all these other people are doing this, and because of this. No. You are an adult. You are born again. Old things are passed away. All things have become new. You're a new person. That stuff shouldn't bother you anymore. Look at your neighbor and say, boy, you needed to hear that one. So what causes this conflict that most of us run into? In my years of research and study and experience, I have come to this scientific founding that most conflicts involve some form of a relationship. Could be with the spouse, could be with the kids, could be with the in-laws, could be with the outlaws. I had one person tell me one time, said, Pastor, you telling us to soar with eagles. He said, that's hard to do when you're working with a bunch of turkeys. Amen. So the relationship issue is usually the common denominator of conflict. Now, if you're living by yourself and don't have any interaction with anybody and you're still being conflicted within yourself, now that's another story. But that's most of us, we don't have conflicts unless we have relationships. And if we just really simply boil it down to, this is what I found in counseling. Most people just feel that if everyone would do what they're supposed to do and do what you ask them to do and the right amount and the right way and within a decent amount of time, everybody would be happy. Amen. So really the conflict boils down to you just didn't get your way. But we have to interact with people. Every day we interact with them. You say, well, no, I'm just choosing to live by myself. You get on the road to drive, you're interacting with somebody. And most of you are thinking situations right now of the different areas that cause conflict. Well, somebody is being disrespectful to me. Somebody just doesn't put any value in who I am. Listen, your value needs to come from the Lord. Well, I just don't like it with this one and this one and this one. Jealousy is not one of the fruits of the Spirit. It's one of the fruits of the flesh. So you're living in the flesh. You're still being a thermometer instead of a thermostat. Now, I know none of you say you have control issues. But based on the fact that you laughed when I said as long as everyone does what they're supposed to do and act right in a timely manner, everybody will be happy, I would submit to you, you still have control issues. And insecurity issues. So, from a counseling point of view, all of that can lead to a thing that's called anxiety. Anxiety is this, you feel like it's out of control. And you need to control it or someone else needs to control it. I mean, everything will be fine. I mean, they need to accept you just like you are. That anxiety, it begins to move. And we're not going to get into it this series, but basically a panic attack is anxiety that got out of control. That's just a simple definition of it. A panic attack is anxiety that got out of control. Sometimes anxiety will move you into a thing called anger. Sometimes anxiety will move you into a place of fear of being hurt or unaccepted or not liked, unappreciated, feel the need to change someone or the situation. And all this results back to the conflict. Sometimes when that anxiety from that relationship comes on, that causes moods. I don't know, nobody knows what a mood is. It's amazing when y'all just look straight ahead. You're not going to look at anybody. If you could see yourselves, you just do this. You're looking straight ahead, blinking those eyes and acting spiritual, and the whole time your brain is spinning when I said moods. And moods can be created by anxiety or by the depression or by the anger. It can also be caused by a chemical change in the body, normal stress. It can be situational sadness or happiness, jealousy, insecurity, fear, pride, all the things that go into life. But moods are not an excuse. See, the devil's intent is this. The devil's intent is to get your eyes off of God, to get your eyes off of Him blessing you, and to get you onto confusion, to get you fixed onto confusion, to get you to fixate on frustration, anxiety, depression, fear, and anger. That's what the devil wants you to do. And what I've noticed, he is really sharp. Because what he will do is you can be in the middle of the land of blessings, get comfortable with the blessings, and then go back to your old ways of complaining and being moody, and just forget to thank God for all the blessings. He's sneaky that way. And all of these type of things lead to the root causes of conflict, and it just boils on the inside of us. I have yet, as a pastor, spent any amount of time with any family that didn't have any conflict. Now, I have spent time with families that polished it over better than other families. But when you have done as much as I have and seen as many people as I have over the years, you just watch their body language. There's dead giveaways. There's that little glare thing and the eyes move across the room. The little eyebrow thing. The twitching thing or the wiggling of the toe thing. If you got your legs crossed, you do these type of things. Or you start fidgeting. Or you change the subject. You're saying, Pastor, have you noticed that about all of us? Yeah, every one of you. No, I haven't. Most of the time I just don't pay any attention. Unless you ask me to pay any attention, then I'll pay attention. And then I can figure it out pretty quickly. All of us have some type of conflict that we're dealing with in ourselves. And then we go home and we turn on the television, and guess what's on the television? Conflict upon conflict, drama upon drama. TV shows are making billions of dollars based on just airing everybody wanting to look at somebody else's conflict and drama. There's some stuff I just go, turn that off. I get enough of that in real life. I don't want to come home and watch it. Why don't I want to see that? There's just because they're being stupid, I don't want to watch them being stupid. Oh, I'm about to name a bunch of shows like The Bachelorette and all this other stuff. It's just like, really? Leave it alone, Rick. Just don't go there. You're going to cause a conflict with people. They're going to be upset with you. Get back to your notes. But what they're doing, what media is doing, is they're playing upon you and captivating you and drawing you in, and you're feeding all of that, and you think, well, if it's televised and it's on primetime television or it's on video on demand, I can go get it anytime I want to. That must be the cool thing to do. Let me tell you something. Jerry Springer is not real life. Maybe real life for some people, but it is not real life for what Jesus wants you to have. And you need to separate yourself from that type of stuff. Somebody just whispered, does he watch Jerry Springer? No. So if you're around people, and you're around people all day long, conflict is inevitable. And all of these things are opposite of God's design for you. Your mind, listen to me closely, your mind, your heart, and your body is not designed for daily conflict. It's not designed for daily conflict. That's the reason there's all types of physical issues and emotional issues that come as a result of being around conflict all the time. And sad to say, most people have lived with conflict in their life as long as they can remember. They don't know that they can live without conflict. It's called the learned behavioral pattern in counseling. They don't know how to live without it. Trust me, there is a life outside a life of conflict. It's only in God that you are going to find peace. So we have a choice to make to live a healthy and peaceable life, or we're going to allow all the situation and all the people around us to control us and how we think and how we feel. John chapter 14 verse 27 says this. This is God's plan. I am leaving you with a gift. Let me read it again. I'm leaving you with a gift. Peace of mind and heart. I know almost every Sunday, if you're around me during the week, you have heard me, those of you that have been here for years have heard me say it 1,000 times. Pray for the healing of their hearts and their mind. Praying for the peace of their heart and their mind. It's found over and over in Scripture in the New Testament. It is something that is imperative. It is a gift from God, and we hadn't received a gift. The peace of mind and heart. And the peace I will give, I give as a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled. So don't be troubled or afraid. So let me see if I can make this real simple. It's a free gift from Jesus, but if someone gives you a gift, you have to receive it. If somebody drove up in the drive-thru out there in the driveway, and it was a brand new car, and it was brand new car giveaway Sunday at Lifepoint Church. several things would happen. First of all, there'd be a crowd. Second of all, whoever won it would probably ask these questions. What's the catch? What's the catch? Do I have to pay the taxes and stuff on it? Can I just sell it and get the cash money? They're not receiving the gift. They're already questioning the gift. Then some of you, whoever won the gift, you would go, well, why did they draw a name from somebody that didn't come to church on a regular basis? And you'd be mad and you'd have a conflict. So we're not going to give away a free car now. I'm teasing. But we look for reasons not to receive a free gift that God's promised to give us, and we reject it. And we talk ourselves out of it. Well, I just wish God would give me peace. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. He just said He gave it to you. I know, but I can't find peace. Well, quit looking where you're looking. If you can't find it where you're looking, look to Jesus, the author and the finisher of your faith. He said, I'm going to give you a peace, and you missed a clue there. The world cannot give it. I'm letting that settle in. The world cannot give it. Don't expect the peace of mind and heart that Jesus has given to you to come through any person. If you do, I guarantee you, you will be disappointed. There is only one person that will not disappoint you, and His name is Jesus. You can love a person with all your heart, and you can say every time I'm around them, they just give me goosebumps. Well, hooey, hooey, gooey, wooey. Good for you. I just so around, I just get weak kneed. I just feel, my hair just tingles. That's what happened to me, and mine fell completely out, and I still couldn't find peace until I found Jesus. But anyway. Jesus said the world cannot give it. So anytime you're looking for someone else to give you that peace of mind and this conflict thing, you're going to be hurt and disappointed. Now, God may choose to use a person to help you with that, but my value cannot be in what someone says about me. My value cannot be. Listen, for those of you that have been married for any length of time, you know in the beginning, I made this statement the other day. Cindy, I was walking through the kitchen. I said, do you remember those days when you used to call me and just want to listen to me breathe? And her response was, I would do it again. And I had this little thing when she said something that I didn't agree with, which was most of the time. Instead of saying no, she was wrong, because I had learned that not everybody wanted me to call it like I saw it. I would just go, no, 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 no. And she thought going, no, 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 no. It was so cute. I don't know what's cute about no, 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 no. But anyway. You know, after a few months of being married, and y'all have heard the story of the blended family and all the multiple conflicts, all of that stuff goes away. And you got to look back to the one who is never going to leave you nor forsake you, and that's Jesus. Because people are going to come and go. Relationships are going to come and go. Jobs are going to come and go. Money may come, and a lot of it will go. Money's not going to make you happy. So over the next few weeks, we're going to go on this journey of how to receive peace instead of conflict. And the Bible gives us some good instructions and some practical things we can do. Because we can control our lives and be in a place, we can have that thermostat and start controlling the situation and start living a more happy and peaceful life instead of this moving from conflict to conflict. Let me leave you with this thought. The Bible says to move from glory to glory, not from crisis to crisis. Amen. He wants you to move from one place of being blessed to the next place of being blessed. He don't want you just moving from crisis to crisis. And the devil has tricked us that is the way that normal is. No, you're being abnormal when you buy into that. That doesn't mean you're going to be immune to problems, but it means you're going to have strength in the middle of the storm when it comes. Amen?